All right, ready to roll.
Ready?
Okay, well, that's
So
okay.
you good?
I'll just sit on it. It should, if you hold it long enough, it should, at least mine
Oh,
does.
okay. If you hold it long enough, you should be able to see the image behind all the squiggles. Like the magic eye.
You got it? All right, I'll call the meeting to order at 6:33. The first item tonight is to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt tonight's agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion passes. Item 3. Approve the minutes from the December 13th meeting.
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting notes.
I'll second.
All right, a motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, motion passes. Item 4.
There's not a park financial in your packet because the finance department's still finishing up the year-end stuff. We're gonna have the audit at the end of this month, so I'll have a full breakdown of where we're at. But we finished the year under budget on everything. Our park capital budget finished up with $8,546 in the park acquisition fund and $136,833 in the park capital fund, with about $60,000 that earmarked for the John Anderson paving of the trail. So we're looking at probably about $75,000 balance starting this year, so.
Is that typical
For,
to start with a positive balance?
yeah, we
Sometimes
usually
we
start
with 0.
we usually start with a positive balance in the park capital. Kind of depends on how much we get in the park acquisition for development, but
Okay.
we try and keep a positive balance in there moving forward. Not a huge balance, we try and spend as much as we can of it, but
Sure.
keep a little bit of a
I
balance
guess,
in there.
how are we doing on our snow plowing account now that we're,
We finished the year under budget.
Wow.
Most of our plowing was during the week, which saved on overtime. We've used a lot of salt. We're probably about about halfway through our salt order for the year, but we still we'll have a lot in the shed once we get that delivered. So
is that gonna be hard to replenish then, or do we have alternatives if we can't get salt?
we can, when we bid on our contract, we have a 20%. So we bid 600 ton on this year, so we can go up to 720 ton on the same amount. So we have that built into our budget too to help cover some of that cost. But knock on wood, I think we'll be okay. I'm not worried about it yet, but if this weather keeps up for a long time, we might have an issue.
Well, my husband's not traveling to South Korea anymore, and that's usually when we got this 12-inch snowstorm, so.
Yeah. Yeah, we plowed 3 times last week. Another storm we plowed 3 days in a row. So, and even a small storm requires some salt usage, so that's kind of what's been eating at these 1 and 2 inch storms that we've had mixed in between. So there's not much to talk about financials. I'll give you a full year-end report in the February meeting or the March meeting, whenever they get done with the audit. But we did finish up under budget on that for both this and our street public works budget. So.
Very good. You want a motion on that, Nate?
We don't need a motion on that one.
Okay. Anybody have any other comments on it? Item 5.
Our favorite.
Item 5.0, the 2023 athletic field requests. Consider approval of the 2023 athletic field reservation requests. The City of East Bethel has received ball field requests for regular weeknights use from the Soderville Blaine Athletic Association, which is SBAA, St. Francis Youth Baseball, St. Francis Fast Pitch, the Minnesota Snowcats, the Rum River Rovers, and the East Bethel Bandits, as well as 3 weekend tournaments. SBAA is requiring the use of fields 1 through 8 at Booster West and East from April 17th to July 13th, 4 nights a week, and a few Fridays and Saturdays. They're requesting the use of the baseball field Monday through Thursday from June 1st to June 27th. They're also requesting the concession stand for the entire season. St. Francis Youth Baseball is requesting 2 fields a night on Tuesdays and Thursdays from May 1st to July 21st. St. Francis Fast Pitch is requesting 4 fields on Tuesdays and Thursdays from April 17th to July 27th, and 3 fields a night on Mondays and Wednesdays. The Minnesota Snowcats would like to use 3 fields on Wednesdays and Thursdays along with a few Tuesdays. The East Bethel Bandits would like to use the baseball field 1 night a week from the beginning of the season until May 31st. The Rum River Rovers Vintage Baseball Team is looking at a weekend tournament in June. And at this time, the city has received no other requests for weeknight use of ball fields and no conflicting weekend requests. So as you can see, there's a lot of requests for these fields, and they're all overlapping. Kind of what we've done in the past is we try and distribute it evenly between basically the 4 organizations. So I've included what we've got so far in there for our scheduling.
And the Rovers are new this year, right?
The Rovers, they just need it for 1 day. So
Oh,
they're
okay.
not included on this. They requested it the weekend that there's that annual Minnesota Snowcats big softball tournament.
Father's Day weekend.
Yeah, I think it's actually a week before, well, is it
Is that a men's softball team?
No.
the Rovers?
Baseball.
Yeah,
Baseball.
they're a vintage baseball team, so they play with like old time bats and gloves and stuff.
So, but it is a men's.
Yes,
Yeah, I
yep,
think I've seen, I was trying to think.
yep. So they're looking at, I gave them our open weekends, I'm still waiting to hear back from them, but we should be able to fit them on an open weekend, it sounded like.
So Snowcats did not request a weekend.
Snowcats requested the weekend of June 10th and 11th. I think that's the weekend before Father's Day.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, and last year they were the week before too.
Yeah,
Okay. So they
so Father's
changed
Day
the
weekend
days.
is open. So that's one weekend that the Rum Rovers are looking at.
Okay.
So we kind of, if you look at the, it's a lot to kind of pull together there, but each team is color-coded, and we try to distribute the fields evenly among the different organizations so that it was fair for all of them, kind of depending on the size and the number of teams they had too. And this is very similar to what we've used in the last 3 or 4 years, and all the teams have been pretty happy with how it works out. The Minnesota Smoke were one of the teams that we had on here last year, and they have pulled from this Booster West with that park we're working at Maynard Peterson. So that helps relieve some of the congestion we're gonna have here, trying to schedule teams.
Have these teams been informed yet of this schedule? Or-
Not yet.
So once we approve it, then it goes to them.
Correct, yep. The only one that requested the concession stand was SBAA, and they've had it traditionally most years. Last year, in the COVID year, they did not request it, so they're gonna try and get back into it this year, selling concessions up there. They are, the Snowcats use it on their weekend tournament.
There's a separate fee for that then?
Correct, yeah.
Were we still looking at the contract? Weren't we looking at that at one time? Field fees?
As far as changing them, we looked at them one time last year, just to see if we needed to make any changes on there.
And the fees are covering the cost?
The fees are covering the costs. There's a reason why we got so many people applying for it too, though.
Right, because I think we're maybe lowballing ourselves, maybe.
We were a little bit low on compared to some cities, and we were higher than others. Like Ham Lake doesn't charge anything for their fields, but they also don't do any work on it. Each group has to take care of the dragging and chalking and stuff like that too, so it's kind of a trade-off.
I know their regulation field is like a gopher mound everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've gotten to be really in disrepair compared to what they used to be at one time.
St. Francis and Isani, I think, were pretty close to us on what they were charging for their field use. As you can see, that's a lot of use for Booster Park throughout the
Did you put
summer.
this
It
together?
is, it's very colorful.
Yeah. Did you put this together, Nate?
Attempted to, yes.
Good job.
See, this is the way I did it, so that I could tell.
Oh, yeah.
She did a good job.
Yeah, I figured it was one of the girls did this for you.
Otherwise, the font was really small. I was like, what does that say?
We printed on large paper for our guys to look at, so they know what, once we get, everybody assign their schedules, and they send us what teams are gonna be on there, and it'll be like 10U, 12U, 14U. So our staff will go out then and set the bases to that, whatever that dimension is, chalk them to that dimension as
That's
well.
nice.
So they can just show up and play then when they get here. And that way we kinda control, sometimes when people are dragging ball fields and stuff and they're not real used to it, they can end up causing a lot of damage. Dragging
Right.
lime into the grass or
Yep.
banging into the fences, stuff like that.
Or
so-
using their own ATV
Exactly,
through the fields. We've seen that.
yep.
So. And then I noticed that there wasn't anything for the fall. Is fall baseball, they haven't requested anything?
They usually submit that towards the end of the year, yes. And it was mainly Minnesota Snowcats and a little bit of St. Francis Fast Pitch.
They kinda have to have an idea what their schedule is before they can do anything there.
Yeah,
So, and they won't get that till July.
yep. And most of those are weekends.
Sundays, usually.
Those are actually a lot of work to set up for.
I think you did a nice job putting that together and
Yeah.
spreading everything out, spreading everything around.
You have to keep the template for next time.
Yeah,
There's some cutting and pasting on here, definitely.
well, and not everybody's gonna be happy, but not everybody's gonna be unhappy either.
That's kind of what that's what we kind of have to try and focus on with it.
It's kind of always been like that, but it always ends up working out.
Originally, before we had a lot more demand, it was SBAA rented all the fields. They paid the fee for everything, and then they would kind of sublease some of this to the other organizations. And we kind of had to go this way because these other teams were saying they were getting all the bad times and the bad fields. And so I think this is a little more fair to get everybody a chance at it.
Well, I know even during the week when there isn't an official baseball or softball team, we do see kids out there playing, so we're doing great work.
Do we need a motion?
I'd make a motion that we use Nate's grid here and as a good starting point.
I'll second that.
All right, a motion has been made and seconded to approve the draft schedule for 2023. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion passes.
Very nice job, Nate.
Nice.
Thank you. We'll get this approved, and if we have any conflicts, we'll bring it back. I think we should be okay.
Item 6, Park Commission applicant interviews.
Item 6.0, consider recommendation to City Council for the open Park Commission seat. On October 24th, 2022, the City of East Bethel accepted the resignation of Stacy Volkel from the Park Commission. The City of East Bethel has had the vacant position advertised on the community billboard on the city website since that time. We have received 2 applications thus far. The applicants' resumes are attached for your review. The new commissioner will fill out the remaining year of the 3-year term, which will run from January 31st, 2023 to January 31st, 2024. A list of potential interview questions will be provided to the Park Commission at the meeting, along with any additional questions the Park Commissioners may have for the interview candidate. And at this time, I only see one candidate here. Just go ahead with one, do you think, Jack? And maybe heard anything from Rem? So, with that, Mr. Westland, if you would like to come up to the podium, and pretty informal process, but we'll grill you a little bit.
Okay, be nice though, this is the first time I've interviewed for a job since 1990s.
And no fair you taking shots.
Yeah.
I'll be a neutral force here.
All right,
Well, thanks for
Okay.
coming. Your resume looks impressive. We've all had a chance to review that, so we just have a few questions for you.
Sure.
So,
Yeah,
anybody
you've
want to start?
been coming to the meetings for a while and watching us,
Yep,
observing.
yep, kind of the cab driver, I guess, is what's been happening.
Mr. Uber,
Yep.
So why are you interested in parks?
I haven't been involved in any city government stuff, so one thing it would be a kind of an interesting way to ease into understanding more about how city government works. Retired, I've got time to look for volunteer opportunities, and we haven't, we've grown, our whole family, our kids all grew up in Coon Lake Beach area. We've been there since I moved in '79. So all three of our kids grew up there, familiar with the parks in that area, and those are always a big hit. And I just think it would be, kind of fun. It seems like a good group of people from, the times I've been here.
Well, that's a pleasure to hear.
Yeah.
We haven't scared you off yet.
Not yet.
I can ask the second one. So, knowing our parks, do you have a certain thing that you're interested in, like maybe baseball or the trails or anything like that, specialty kind of?
No, I don't really have any real specific area. Just in general, I'm not real familiar with all the parks and all that the parks offer. Like I said, our main focus has been in that Coon Lake Beach area, and now with Mary Helen's involvement, we've obviously learned more about the parks than I have. So I really don't have a special interest area, just generally kind of across the board, I think.
Well, it's from your resume though, it looks like some of your stuff is pretty well suited to the parks. Your history and your background.
Yeah, I've got a lot of background in facilities and projects and budgets, that kind of stuff. Nothing, it's all
Mechanical.
business related, mechanical stuff. Yeah, I've been started out in my career pulling wrenches, and I still do. I mean, I do everything around home, and do also a lot of volunteer work for the Coon Lake Community and Senior Center with their property.
Well, we talk about them a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Involved with it.
Are you able to work with your wife on a committee?
I don't think that would be a problem.
I'm just from personal
That's
experience.
question 4, right?
Well, I'm just saying.
Conflict of interest here?
Right, yeah.
Just
No,
because
and
I have worked on some things with my husband in the city, and
Right. No,
That's a good question.
yeah, it is a good question. And, we have a very good working relationship and a home life and all of that, and we don't, I don't think it would be a problem, but I could see where that would be a concern.
I know, just a matter of semantics, but you guys do take extended vacations, and so both of them would be gone. How would that affect us as far as a quorum?
Something to consider.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because that could end up being an issue, maybe a month or two, or a meeting or two.
We have 7 people, so a quorum is 4.
Quorum's 4, we have to have 4 to have a meeting, correct, yep.
Just double checking, because that would be something.
Yeah, we've had trouble having a quorum
Yeah,
at other times.
Yep.
yeah, that's why I'm,
To be honest though, our quorum is 4, even with an empty seat.
Correct,
So when we've had a problem, it's because of that,
yep.
partially
Yeah,
because of that
that-
empty seat, so.
We did not have a quorum, and we had to
Having-
cancel the November meeting because of that, so.
That was-
Having a body in that seat, even if it is a married couple, in my mind is
Right.
okay.
Good point.
Doesn't it count though when a council member comes too though?
No,
Nope.
they're
Oh, I
not, they're
thought-
not, they're not
because they're
voting
not
members.
officially part of the,
Oh,
they're
I
a
thought you did.
liaison.
Liaison position.
Okay,
No, they can't vote.
I thought I just read that somewhere recently.
Wasn't that with I think I know what you're talking about. I think maybe it was with the consul or something that.
Or maybe the person that was assigned to our.
Well,
liaison.
the EDA has 2 council members that are actually voting members of the group. So that one's a little bit different, but the other ones are planning commission and park commission are 7 members.
So Al, do you have any specific park or trail projects you would like to see implemented or would like to prioritize certain things?
No. You know, like I say, I'm not that familiar with the whole entire park system, so it probably would take me a little time to really figure that out, I think.
Okay.
Well, that's a fair answer. I mean, all of us got on here for one reason or another and found there was other things we became interested in after we
I've
got
always
here.
found you know, the meetings that I've been to and listened to Bonnie and Mary Helen talk about the parks and what you guys do, and I always kind of find that out that, you know, once you hear a little bit or you know a little bit about it, once you really get into something, it just balloons and there's so much more behind the scenes that,
We're just not play equipment.
right?
Yeah.
Well, it's a good way to get a foot in the door for just any city government stuff. You learn a lot about the entire city government once you get on one of these commissions or volunteer groups, so.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that's like, I'm sure one thing that I would expect would happen.
The time commitment varies a little bit, but it's right around 20 hours a week or so.
Yeah.
Putting into it.
Yeah, no.
20 hours a week.
Yeah.
Well, it depends. Depends on what you're involved in.
Yeah. Well, there were some times where I had 20 hours a week in the Coon Lake Community Center. It's,
Right. Anytime you volunteer and you're a good volunteer, you're the volunteer.
yep, it's pretty easy to have people find stuff for you to do.
Which is okay.
You guys have any other
Yeah.
questions?
You have any questions for us? I mean, you've been listening for
Yeah.
a couple
No,
months, so I mean,
I really don't. You know, and I understand, you know, the whole conflict of interest concerns and all of that. So, you know, I'm not, if I'm not selected for this, it's, you know, I'm not concerned about that because I do.
you're still gonna come and sit in the audience then.
Yeah, well, I'm sure I'll be here from time to time.
There's nothing in city council policy or anything on
Nope,
that, right?
we looked at, there was nothing that,
Good.
the only
Okay.
thing that's in the city policy is you can't have a supervisor that's related to you.
Right, because it's a position of power.
Yep.
Yeah, makes sense.
And in all fairness, I've known these two forever. And they complement each other. They're just a great couple and they worked together. They both sat on the board for a period of time and complimented each other. Very fair. They're very fair, honest people.
Thanks, Bunny.
Thank you.
We work together almost every Friday night as I'm the assistant gambling manager.
Oh,
for
sure.
Smokies. And Elle is my right hand during the meat raffles and animated races that we do, so I couldn't do it without him. We have a lot of fun together. We do.
All right.
Anything
Thank
else?
you.
Just the one candidate. I think,
Well,
so.
yep, I think Jack was trying to get a hold of Ram, but we haven't heard from him, so I think we just move forward with one candidate.
I'll
Good.
make a motion, if that's what you're looking for.
That's, yep, we can go from there at any point.
I'll make a motion to accept Al's application and bring him in our team and become a commissioner.
I'll second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any more discussion?
Any chance that Jack's gonna get a hold of Ram?
Any word, Jack? No.
Fair enough.
All right.
Any more discussion? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
You're here now.
Welcome.
Welcome aboard.
Thanks, Al. We'll recommend, it'll be in the next council meeting then for recommendation to them for approval, and we'll go from there. Good thing is you're only locked in for 1 year too, so.
Yeah, you got time to run yet.
And
Is
just
he-
because the open seat is over there, this time, you know, next time it might be over here.
You might want to keep us apart.
But you don't
Denise
have to
between
sit
you
next to
two.
your wife.
Yeah. We won't be, and there's no issues there. Just so you know.
All right, item 7.
Item 7, council report and other information. Staff and the Park Commission will continue discussions on future direction of the city's parks and projects with the city council liaison and our new city council liaison, Mr. Tim Miller.
I've got 24 hours in.
Tim,
You wanna come up and say hi and,
Oh, my.
yeah.
Yeah, hi. My name's Tim. I've got 24 hours in, and I'm honored to be on city council here. I was assigned something else. I asked specifically for Parks Commission. Reason being is that I've heard a lot of good things about what you guys were doing. And to be a part of that and support it is going to be key to the success that I and the rest of the new council are going to have. I want to be a good liaison. I want to be able to listen to what you have to say and what you have to ask of the city. And I want to make sure that you get the support that you need to do the finest job you can. East Bethel has got what I would consider some of the best parks around, by far. I want to keep it that way. I want to make sure we have the tools to improve it. And you guys have the support that you need, and you have a voice that you can count on up at City Council when we do make decisions that impact yourself. For the most part, just sitting here, watching you guys get along and work with each other is a huge bonus for what I'm looking forward to doing in the future. Consider me someone you can trust, because I have to trust you, and I'm going to trust you with the decisions that you make in this room. So I appreciate being here. I look forward to working with you. I wish I had more to report, but being as that I've only been here 24 hours, it's kind of tough.
What?
We'll give you
But I have put in almost 20 hours reviewing stuff. So I thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Welcome
Sounds
aboard.
good.
Promise we won't hurt you right away. Get us more money. You'll hear that from me every time I talk to you.
Nate, you got anything?
Yeah, I want to talk to you guys about our meeting in February. I kind of mentioned in the email. We want to have a joint meeting with the city council at their work meeting on February, I think it was 8th, is that what we said on the email?
I believe so.
So we want to do a joint meeting to go over specifically the park dedication fees, kind of what we've talked about at our last meeting, and then get the city councils, what they think on that. I think it would be easiest if we did our meeting at 6:30, if that works for everybody. That way we can get the new members sworn in, and the ones that have to be sworn back in, get all that business stuff done before the meeting, and then we can start the joint meeting at 7 o'clock then. What do you guys think about that?
I was gonna say, who needs to be sworn in? Me, Tim,
Me.
So-
yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
so there's four
It'd be four.
swearings?
Yep.
Yeah.
It would be February
We don't do
6th.
it together, sorry.
Yeah,
Sixth
make it
is
faster.
February 6th, yep.
That's a Monday, whatever it was.
It's a Monday, yep.
Nate, with that?
It's a Monday?
Yeah.
And that would take the place of our February meeting then, so we wouldn't have another meeting that month.
With that
Six,
discussion about the park
third.
dedication fees, is it possible, or maybe not, but to have a further discussion on the trails when the developments go in? And I think there's an ordinance that was created roughly 4 or 5 years ago that talked about, you have to add a trail or whatever.
Yeah, I
don't
think
know.
that was
when we were
created
looking at
in
bike lanes.
I don't know that that's
2007
always been
or
being
8.
done.
Yeah.
So to me, that kind of goes along with park dedication, when you're putting in a new area or new development.
So are we gonna need more time at this next meeting then other than a half hour?
I don't know if it has to be that same topic. I'm talking about the joint meeting, so not
Right.
the
Right.
30-minute meeting,
Right,
the portion that is with city council.
And that's
And-
open-ended, that can go till midnight if you want.
Excellent.
as late as you want.
You know I love spending time here.
And maybe it's a separate topic,
You can stay
but
here.
they're related. They're related, and I know that there's been some talk about re-looking at that ordinance too, because I don't think that it's been being enforced.
Absolutely.
So, you know, if we just add it as a.
Do you have, I'm not picking on you, but do you happen to have the ordinance number so
I
we can all
don't.
look it up?
I don't, and it's
Can you
one
send
that
that
we-
I can send it to you.
It's
Yep.
one that we created, we helped, we advised on it
Well, the one you're thinking of, I think, was done in 2007.
that long ago?
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's been there for a while, and it kind of was, we can talk about it at the meeting too, but it was kind of pushed aside because it was a hindrance to development. It was when the markets really shut down, and so it hasn't really been enforced. And it was kind of whether or not it was needed in some of these rural neighborhoods that have a trail that didn't go anywhere. So it's still in the city ordinance, and we've talked about it. That'd be a good time to talk about it. I think the number one thing would be the park dedication fees, but there's other things that obviously the park commission can bring up and talk to the city council about too at the same time. So I can get that information in the packet, so we have that available for the meeting too. Does that sound good to you, Jack? As far as adding that, doing that all at one time?
Yeah, that's something that really needs to be looked at, because we have a lot of these rural residential subdivisions are just scattered here and there. The thing we don't want to do is have these little segments of trails that are trails to nowhere. I think that's something that needs to be examined and maybe even changed for the rural residential subdivisions. The other thing that I want to mention too, I think you all discussed the park dedication fees at your meeting last time and came up with some recommendation on fees. One of the things that I'd like to do in our discussion is, on fees for these larger, higher density developments, is start out maybe at a little lower fee for now, because in 2 years, we're going to reach a cap on one of our loans that we're gonna have to repay. Once we do that, then we will start paying what all the other cities pay in terms of SAC charges, so we won't have to charge as much. If we could kind of do this incrementally in steps, and maybe, I think.
Like a percentage increase by year or something?
Well, I think, maybe, let's say, for example, I think you said maybe $2,500 for the higher residential. Maybe start at $1,500, and then in 2 years, when this new fee goes into effect, or the reduction in what we have to pay the Met Council goes into effect, then we can look at raising that. The one thing we want to do is make sure we're still competitive with other cities, because our city's SAC and WAC fees are so much higher than everybody else's. But that's just something we can bring up and throw out some numbers and see if we can come to some kind of agreement on that. But on the requirement, what's in the ordinance, and Nate's correct, I think there was also too, when the Trails Fund was absorbed into the city general fund, when we went into the recession in 2010, 2011, is that there wasn't really any money for that. So they started not enforcing that part of it. I think the bigger picture though is, what we need to do is probably develop a comprehensive trails plan. So when we do a trail, it's gonna be continued, it's gonna connect point A to point B.
Well, and I think a comprehensive plan has what we had proposed before, so maybe if we could get a copy at some point for a meeting to look at what we had proposed before and what we can do now.
Are you talking about that one that was done in 2007, 2008?
Right.
We updated it, we have an updated one we did in 2018.
Right, it was just a few years
The
ago.
one, I got a copy that I gave to Tim here.
And I know some of us had talked about the whole, remember when we had the snowmobile groups in here? They wanted to look at trails too. Do we need to bring them back to talk about what they want?
We do have the snowmobile trails on that plan. Let me just pull it up for the map here. Give me 1 second. So this is the comprehensive trails plan. So some of these blue ones are winter, I think we had the snowmobiles weren't on this one.
Yeah, that blue one, winter use only.
Where it says winter use only.
Yeah. Doesn't show the one on 65 though. We do have a map that shows all the snowmobile trails too. So that's the comprehensive trails map for for the connecting trails. It does not go into the development level because we don't really know what the developments are gonna look like. But we kind of been taking those on one at a time, like with Elevage and Viking Preserve as the trail that was put in with it. The higher density areas all will have trails on them. Sandhill Crane has a trail portion that was added to it. Parkway.
You know, I think the focus of most of our trails in the past several years has been connections and internal trail developments in our bigger parks like Booster West. The John Anderson connection, which is going to be made, will really link up Bondi Park
Right.
to John Anderson Park. And part of that will be using widened shoulders on city streets, but there will be a connection from point A to point B. It'll get you from one place to the other.
Well, the number one question I always get is, why don't we have bike trails? And then I try to explain everything and give history and say that's what we're working on. But I said, some of them are county roads that we can't do anything with, which is very frustrating for people who want to ride on Viking, if they want to ride across to Wyoming or, you know. So, and I know that, just based on experience, that we probably aren't going to get much from Anoka County. But if we could start looking at somehow with these new developments, doing like a back way into some of these areas, so they don't have to be on Viking the whole time or 221st out here the whole time.
Well, and that's one thing we did with the Elevage, is we made sure that there were points of contact to access the adjoining properties when they developed, so you could have some trails going through all of them and stay off Viking Boulevard.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's what we need to look at. And I'm not so sure that this meeting is really the place to do it.
Right, I'm thinking future.
What I think we should do is sit down and come up with something and have it in front of us, so then you can present it to city council.
Right.
Okay.
We have a whole year, right?
That's
This is
correct.
this is the first meeting of the year.
Anything else? Anybody got any questions for me?
All the budgets have been approved, I assume, and ready to go?
Yeah, the city budget was submitted to the county, on December the 12th. And it's wrapped up and ready to send you a letter here in March, so. And again, one thing, I thought we did a really good job on the budget in this period of inflation. The levy increase was 0.9%.
Oh,
Less than
excellent.
1% for the city side of it. Now, depending on what your valuations did will determine what your taxes are, but I understand some of those went up substantially. But at least on the levy side, it is way down. In fact, it was the lowest increase of any city in Anoka County. So we were really proud of that, especially working with the inflationary stuff we had. So that's been submitted, and you know, our goal since 2015 has been to keep any city budget levies less than 3%, and we've achieved that for the past 8 years, and we'll continue to work on that to keep those down. As we all know, our valuation's been going up steadily, and I think some people's took a huge jump this year. So if the levy doesn't go up nearly as fast, it'll keep those taxes reduced somewhat. So.
Cool, thank you.
The only thing I have is the, and I don't know the date, but the auxiliary is having their waffle breakfast for the fire department. Do you know the date?
January the 24th, does that sound right, Nate?
I believe it's the 28th,
28th, okay.
Saturday the 28th.
I just want to, because I don't have it here, so.
This is the,
Thanks, Jack.
this is the ordinance, if you guys want to look it up, it's section 66-165.
And we didn't have a discussion on that? Something, maybe at 2018 or something 4 or 5 years ago?
Well, I think we updated some things
We
on
did.
the, not necessarily a trail plan, but we looked at the comprehensive. Because
I
we
thought
went
there
to,
was-
you and I went to the meeting with the city council.
I thought
This
there
one was
something
updated
about
in 2007.
The language even of how much money we take in when a development comes. That's what I was kind of getting at.
We talked about it a little bit with, well, a couple of developments, we had trails put in and used that as park dedication. Is that maybe what you're thinking of?
When we
Could be,
worked on
could
the
be.
apartments too, when we were looking at how to,
Yeah, I'm thinking of something from before that. I'll go back and look too.
but I think we've touched on it a couple of times, how to widen a road to make a bike lane, or how to connect our parks to the new developments. For sure, the apartments, we talked about it.
Yeah, so this is the one where it's rural residential and R1 and R2 require a trail on one side of the street. Commercial district sidewalks on both sides.
So this ordinance was last updated before only Bonnie and Sue were on the commission.
Correct.
So don't get me wrong, I love the wording in there, but if it's not happening, then that was kind of where that's the wording that I was thinking of.
Yep.
If it's not happening, then is there a different way that we could get something from those developments to put towards trails? Even if it's to connect a neighborhood to a different area. That's
That'd be,
all.
I'll put that on the agenda for discussion for us in one of our upcoming, probably maybe March or April. That'd be a good item for that.
Cool. Did you have anything else, Nate?
Nope, that's all I had for updates.
Commissioners, you have anything? All right, last thing is to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second it?
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Short and sweet.
Nice short one today.